inability to work with others, he wouldn't have all these people jumping into his wagon, changing their minds. He has proved that he doesn't hold any grudges against anyone. He's willing to work with all of the ones that hated him. Now you can go on with your rant.
So, wait, I'm gonna, real quick, so, I was just gonna give one really solid example. Him unable to get the Republican Party in line to repeal the ACA, which has been a hallmark proposed policy change.
Obama.
You know, Issa, I'm never going to talk to you about politics again if you don't know what the ACA is. That is absurd. That is actually ridiculous.
You said that before the election.
Okay, thank you.
It's the Affordable Care Act.
I just don't know
I didn't know the initials.
Dude.
Okay, yeah, so...
Kevin, a failure and a disorder are...
No, so I'm saying
that
part of...
I have a lot of criticism on Trump, and I think this...
He's working with little Marco.
Exactly. He's vice president. He's another Trumper.
He doesn't hold grudges. Is that why he removed John Bolton's security protections, even though there's been an attempted Iranian assassination? Is that because he doesn't hold grudges?
With a grudge, dude. What he has to do is
Issa, can you give me a good reason?
He's not an official anymore.
Okay, so you're saying we don't. You're saying that we shouldn't. You're saying that we shouldn't offer security protection to former officials?
Only
is that your statement?
Ones.
No, yeah. Kevin, that's not.
Okay, well,
and he can afford his personal security, by the way.
Kevin, let's take a breath. A criticism of someone, and I have a lot of criticism of Trump. I think that he should have pardoned the violent January 6th rioters. He should have pardoned everyone else. This criticism and saying that it is a disorder are very, very different. I've never met a leader in personal life or ever that makes zero mistakes. But that does not mean he has a disorder. So failing to appeal the ACA was a campaign promise that he failed on. Great. He also succeeded and failed in other things. And I'm not a big supporter of Trump. But between Diego and Issa, I'm like the one most marginal supporter. But let's be honest.
So you're mixing up a few things that I said. I never said that his failures are his personality disorder. I think he's made a lot of failures and he has a personality disorder.
So where do you see the personality disorder? He's highly successful.
You don't think that someone can be successful and also have a personality disorder?
Well, I think a personality disorder by definition means that he can't work with the people around him.
Correct.
He failed in his marriage, but he has a great relation with all his children. He successfully married off all his children. His infidelity is a problem. I wouldn't call it a personality disorder. He built up a tremendous company. You don't do that by mistake. That means he has people that are loyal to him, they're willing to work for him. They stuck with him for many, many years. He walked into politics and had a very chaotic entrance because the old boys club didn't want to let a newcomer in. That goes for both parties, but the Republican Party gave him bad advice intentionally and were running interference for the first 2 years of the administration. Those are just the facts. Now, can we criticize his moves? All the time. I think he made some great moves. I think he made some terrible moves. His politics.
He wants to expel the Gazans.
Oh, that's a pretty good idea. I'm kidding. I just wanted to trick you.
I'm just kidding.
I don't think he's trying to expel the Gazans.
If anybody could just give us a definition, a hard definition of narcissistic personality disorder, that would help.
Well, the problem with the whole narcissistic thing is that it's too easily used, especially on the internet. Like, we easily claim that everybody is a narcissist, because some people like attention, and it's like, oh, well, he's a narcissist. Well, that's not really what a narcissist is. Like, the narcissist as a personality disorder is someone that is highly manipulative, someone that is deeply insecure, that tries to compensate with attention from the outside.
You're describing Trump. That's Trump.
Do you think Trump is insecure, dude?
Yeah, he's absolutely insecure.
If someone,
Wait. You gotta let me give examples. Let me give examples. I always like to give examples. You can't cut me off before I give an example.
You're so emotional today, Kevin.
Oh my God.
Wait, Kevin.
No, you're interrupting constantly. You're interrupting constantly.
You were the one interrupting me. I was in the middle of describing the fucking...
So you kept 12 hours
thing, but just start at one of them. But okay, yeah.
Okay.
Like Kevin, before you start, you said just
You're
this is probably gonna help because it works against what Kevin is saying. And one of the things it says is a personality disorder is characterized by a lifelong pattern of exaggerated feelings of self-importance, an excessive need for admiration, and a diminished ability to empathize with people's feelings. And I do not think Trump lacks empathy. He's pretty empathetic towards people.
Yeah, I don't think that's the.
Are you referring
Yeah,
to
but-
theism?
Wait, let me say so. I mean, one obvious example
You
of
caught me
insecurity.
in my description, and you have said nothing.
Okay.
Yes.
One obvious example of insecurity would be the whole crowd sizes thing. I'm sure you guys remember the debate where Kamala made the comment about his crowd sizes, and even though the moderator was attempting to move on, he had to go back. He needed to go back and defend the untrue claim that in his
Or the
inauguration
puppet.
he had
I'm
the
no
biggest
puppet.
crowd.
You're the puppet.
Yeah.
But
He's never able to get selected to stand.
That is not a Hold on. That is not a narcissistic behavior. That is just a
Being obsessive about the size of your
If
crowds.
you tell him, oh, your crowds are little.
It wasn't even the crowd size.
Like he's
We have the biggest penises.
That is more about having a reactive personality rather than being a narcissist. He's being defensive about his
Because he's insecure.
vibe,
Because
you
he's
know?
deeply insecure.
Okay, that's the part you made up, Kevin. You don't know this. That's his political.
Well, obviously, this is going to be conjecture. Like, I'm not a psychiatrist. I can't
So
diagnose
Kevin,
it.
again, the fact that he let her, it wasn't crowd size, it was people leaving his rally. The fact that he let her distract him by saying people are leaving your rallies is a flaw and a character flaw, but you can't jump to narcissism.
I think it's
You don't
very
know that.
narcissistic to say that Trump has narcissism when you're not a doctor.
Yeah, this is true. However, I have listened to many doctors who agree with me and say that Trump is in fact a narcissist.
Oh my God,
So your appeal to authority does not work.
Well, okay. You know, what is an
All the
authority
doctors that
anyway?
supported
Because
your same claims.
And now you're undermining the authority you just appealed to.
my authority is God, and God only is my only authority is God.
Why did you appeal to an authority you don't even believe in?
If they diagnosed him without seeing him, they undermine their own authority.
I believe in
if
God.
Yeah, you
If
can.
someone, listen, he may be narcissistic, but someone would have to diagnose him. You're like saying that he's so narcissistic you could diagnose him remotely, which is
Oh no, that's not
all
what I
the
said.
rules of psychology.
Not what I said. I even earlier I even acknowledged that you can't diagnose someone unless you have a formal medical relationship with them. No. I said that he meets an overwhelming criteria. Like if you go down the checklist, it seems obvious that he hits every single point. And as someone who's I've been watching. You know, we've all been watching Trump for 8 years at this point, 9 years. Seeing
As
this.
far as I understood, you haven't even been able to You haven't even been able to define the checklist because Diego says that you weren't able to describe what narcissism is, but you're calling it a narcissist. So doesn't that make you a narcissist?
I just got to work, so I have to go. But no, we were going down the list. We were going down the list together, and we started with the first thing. I mean, you can look it up. You can go through every checkpoint, and he checks all the
I was
boxes.
trying to,
Very,
but
yeah, but
I
you.
like this logic.
very emotionally.
I like this logic. He overwhelmingly checks off everything on the list as long as you conjecturize open everything to hit the list.
Left my
Oh, wow.
Then when he started asking me what do you define narcissism as, and I was like, what the hell? Like I wasn't the one calling anybody a narcissist.
Yeah, well, listen, I have known one narcissist in my life, and it was
Does he
horrible.
check off the boxes?
All of them. Or every
I had a
single
longer list
fucking
of
one of them.
narcissists. I'm very familiar with the caricatures.
And it was like, so I was consulting, you know, like on all of these kind of stuff. Like it became like I became so almost like obsessed with it because I needed to figure out, you know, because yeah, I mean, like a narcissist person destroys their environment, doesn't thrive, you know, like as you say, he's functional, Meyer. He's not a fucking narcissist.
And why, when things don't work out for a narcissist, why, how do they not self-destruct or kill themselves or
Oh, they
whatever?
do.
They
They
blame
do
everyone
self-destruct,
around
and they
them.
destruct anything they can around them because this is the way that they manage to be on top. Just like destroying the people around them makes them be on top of them. It's not by elevating themselves, but it's by pushing other people down.
And they don't elevate the people around them either. A good leader will elevate the team. They constantly blame, and they don't self-destruct in that way. They don't commit suicide because they believe everyone around them. They're fully convinced that it's
And that is another thing that a narcissist has. The narcissist doesn't recognize, doesn't deal with personal responsibility. Everything that happens in the life of a narcissist is someone else's fault. They are never at fault. They never make mistakes. They never contributed to anything wrong in their lives. You know, everything is someone else's mistake.
correct.
And it's the blame shifting. So I don't think that Trump
Well, here's
shows.
what's frustrating about Trump. He was taught when he was young not to ever admit to a mistake, and it's a technique. Now, if you notice, he'll do things
From
like
Cohen?
Yeah, Roy Cohen taught him that, and he will not admit to a mistake. So he'll double down, he'll double speak, he'll run in circles. It's frustrating. I think you would do a lot better if you would just admit it and move on. But if you notice with his activities, he admits his mistakes and pivots and changes courses. It's not a narcissistic personality. I call it a character flaw. It's an oddity. But like he will say things like the pandemic was not my fault of this 15 reasons. But he'll change his activities and people around him and he definitely hears it. He just won't say it. I'm gonna guess, and now I'm doing conjecture. In his inner circle, he talks differently. Because again, his activities and his speech are so different. You could tell it's a persona. It's not real. A narcissist, they'll be fully convinced that they're 100% right, and they'll keep making the same mistake over and over because they can't admit they made a mistake.
And also, well, what I have learned, by dealing with one narcissist is not necessarily that you would, real narcissists, like I know that people say, well, when someone is pompous, and I'm reading your list, Diego, and arrogant and whatever, yeah, well, those are visible things, but what you need to understand is that these things are really deeply rooted in their personality. For example, when you talk, the number one says grandiosity with expectations of superior treatment by others. This is usually not so easily perceptive at first sight. It's more about who they believe they are, and so when you, for example, do not agree with something that they say, or you treat them differently or whatever, you can see that they get enraged, because they, in their head, they do believe that they are grandiose and that they're superior to you. So if
Are
you
we talking
ever
about Jews?
if you ever
Okay,
demonstrate or make them feel like they are not superior, then they will get into a rage. It will be like the reaction that they have.
Are you sure we're not talking about
saying,
Jews?
"Oh my
No, we're
fucking
talking. I am the best in the room. Just stop it. I'm the best. Me, not Jews. Just me.
Yeah, so anyway, one thing is saying, oh yeah, you know what, guys, I'm super special and I want all the attention from you. And it's like, yeah, well, wanting attention, that is not necessarily being a narcissist. It's like, if I don't get the attention, like, the rage that you can feel, or the way that you try to manipulate your way in order to get that attention. And that's when it becomes like the whole thing about the gaslighting and the whole thing about lying and things about, but it's very internalized.
Everyone meet our next guest. We have a narcissist that visited the room to show us an example.
Keegan?
Good morning, everyone. Well, it's not my fault. Listen, Issa.
Yes, it is your fault because you're not listening.
Well, and that might be my fault that I wasn't listening, but I used, the form of my comprehension skills to understand that what you were talking about, whether or not you were talking about the Jays, the tiny hats, it sounded like you were. So that's my fault, and I apologize.
Good morning. But who gives a narcissist their image of grandiosity? Like, where is it built from?
I believe from themselves.
They get it
No,
from
it's
themselves.
no.
Okay.
It is.
Okay, also, I just want to say that we're all born narcissists, okay? And we're all like narcissists until we're like 18 years old. It's just like a thing. Like, yeah, it's like part of growing up.
Well, if you're going to define narcissism like that in a colloquial way, we all have some level of narcissism, or else we would be completely depressed and not eat. So, like, that's not part of the problem. Like, yes, people have a certain selfish narcissism to them, and that's what makes us, like, individuals and care enough to survive. That's not narcissism. Narcissism is on a pathological level, and even a 5-year-old, complete brat, you wouldn't call a narcissist if we're being clinical.
It is like having these deep feelings, that you cannot even control with your thoughts. Like, people that are truly narcissists, they are incapable of self-reflection, or of, like what I was saying, like personal responsibility. Like they are incapable of internalizing change and actually have growth. It's very difficult, and they don't see it. And that is what makes a narcissist. Someone that likes attention is just someone that likes attention. Someone that wants to be recognized, I don't know, to be better. I don't know. Like, there are many different things. Someone can be selfish. Someone can be egocentric.
But
someone can
everyone
be
likes attention.
obvious. Someone can be arrogant. Yeah, exactly. But that doesn't make you a narcissist. I mean,
was Jesus Christ a narcissist, you said?
He was the most
I don't know.
narcissistic of
Again,
them
I
all.
don't get to know him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just, I'm really just wondering. I mean, he never changed, right? Very consistent individual.
Well, that's another thing. Narcissists are not consistent in their behavior. They are
they're
very
not
inconsistent.
No, I would say they're very consistent. Like, they don't.
No, narcissists? No.
Yes.
I'm not saying how consistently assholes they are. I'm saying that they're not consistent in like what they say and how they act.
He's confused. You're also confusing self-reflection with consistency. A narcissist can come in a week later and do something completely different and be totally convinced that this is the right thing to do and see no contradiction. But but they won't look at their mistakes and say, okay, that was a mistake, let's pivot. But they're still not consistent. They're very frustrating people to live with.
Yeah.
So my other question was, are some cultures, do they produce more narcissists than others?
Yes.
And I used the example of Filipinos to say, look, Filipinos appear to have no narcissism whatsoever. They're like a servant class. I see them at the airports pushing old ladies in, wheelchairs, and they're so.
True.
They also
they're so
Filipino narcissist.
My sister lived in the Philippines for 3 years. She worked at a company called IJM, International Justice Mission, that worked with sex trafficking. Anyways, just to show that the story is true. But what she noticed, though, every time she had her birthday in the Philippines, people that did not know her would have gotten her gifts. And she was like, it was a big thing in the Philippines that everyone's birthday is celebrated by everyone. It was a big deal, and she was like, that's something that you don't see in America, especially as an adult, right? Like, adults' birthdays aren't really, they're not really celebrated. You're celebrated by your loved ones, but your friends, and they might text you a happy birthday. But people in the Philippines get gifts. They plan parties. It's this large event, like. You're right. It's a very...
Well, now let me give you the other extreme. Based on the humor profile of Seinfeld, you would think that the Jewish culture produces the most amount of narcissists.
No, actually, I was thinking completely opposite. I think that Islam and Christians produce more narcissists than
the most
because hold on, if you think about the type of culture, like Jews are whatever kind of power or whatever image you have in your mind about Jews and the control and whatever, which in my opinion doesn't have to do with narcissism. Like, they are actually a very reflective culture. Like, they have learned to debate. They meet every fucking Saturday just to read a bunch and to discuss a bunch and to challenge each other a bunch, and that doesn't create narcissism. However, if you think about, especially Islam, when they are to their truth. But also similar happens in Christianity, I think, when they are incapable of accepting other people's opinions and they believe that they own the truth and they are always right and everything that happens is everybody else's fault. It's like the dogma, I think, that creates narcissism as well.
Do you ever listen to Brett Weinstein?
Yeah.
Brett Weinstein had an interview with someone on Dark Horse. I'm looking for the name of the guy he interviewed, and he was like making a society diagnosis, especially of Gen X, but the younger in America, that we all have become Gen Z, that we all have become Cluster B. Okay, his name is Joshua Selcom. I think you might enjoy it.
Can you put that link or something? Let me look for it.
What's the name of the other brother? The other Weinstein?
Eric.
Eric. Which is the one with all the moles on his face?
Bros.
Eric.
I think Eric is a narcissist.
You think Eric is a narcissist? Why? Because he tries to speak in English and no one can understand him?
I think he thinks his shit don't stink. Like I think that he thinks everything that he's got an opinion about everything and it's never wrong.
I think there's a difference between A, being opinionated and stating your opinion, and being a narcissist, and also very firmly like self-awareness. You can talk about yourself and be aware of how you do things without being a narcissist.
Okay. So
And that's the thing. When you have the capability of, for example, review an event that happened and you doubt yourself when you did the right thing or maybe you were in the wrong, or you're actually looking for the truth, on someone else's opinion, and you are reflective, just that reflection, that means that you're not a narcissist. Like, you might be have had a hard head, you might be stubborn, but that doesn't mean that you are a narcissist. When you're willing to be open to the fact that you might have been wrong about something and that you might have something to correct, but narcissists don't have that capability.
Now, I want to counter what you said, Issa, though, about how Islam and Christianity produces a lot of narcissists. I don't know about Islam, because Islam probably is full of narcissism, but Christianity, I think a key statistic for whether or not you have a narcissistic culture or society is adoption. An adoption for children over the age of 3. And the group that does adopt in the U.S. and in Western culture over the age of 3 is only Christians.
How exactly is adoption related to narcissism? To not be narcissistic?
Because
That's stupid.
I'll tell you. Because why would you adopt a child that's not yours, especially over the age of 3?
You have desire of control. That has nothing to do with
desire of control. I think that's one of the most selfless acts you can do.
Maybe to you in your head, but there are people that actually do these things because they want to raise individuals. They want to create them in their own.
And if you actually look at charity rates in the U.S., right, the most nonprofits are Christian based. Truly, Judaism. First of all, if you look at their charities, it's mostly only to Jews, right? It's only Jew related, especially, in the U.S. And so that's what's really interesting is that you have a lot of Christian-based charities that are just, again, for everyone.
Do you really want to talk about the charities and how evil they are? And
Well,
all the harm they've done to children?
Yeah, I was thinking about how dark they can be.
You can name anything in charity, dude.
Pushing away from the dark corners of charity, in terms of narcissism, I'd say that you can be a narcissist through obsession with oneself. Right, that's the definition of obsession. Yeah. But that obsession can come from either a high level of care about oneself, where they are evaluating themselves constantly, right? They love themselves so they know everything about themselves. Or, alternatively, it comes from a lack of any knowledge of oneself, right? Because then I'm great. Everything I think is just great because I don't even notice the difference between other opinions and my own. That's like the truest narcissist. So I would say these religious systems can produce narcissists because they're replacing any sense of right and wrong with their system. And I would include Judaism. If you give someone an ideology, say go with this ideology, you can make them a narcissist because they'll say, I'm in the ideology. I already took the Eucharist. I already said the Shahada. I am pure. You are unworthy. The self-love is self-perpetuating. The thing which creates the narcissist is not the particular religion. It's whether or not the religion provokes the person to introspection, which, like Issa was saying, I would say Judaism is useful in that way to not produce narcissism because of the first story, that it makes good and evil within the power of human, and they can choose, and you're responsible for your own actions. And then, it follows through with that, with its legal system of punishing the wicked, right? And it has, methods of repentance, whatever. Meaning, the reason it doesn't gear towards narcissism is that you'll never be able to ask a Jewish source, am I okay with being me? The Jewish source will always say, well, are you following all the rules? Like, are you doing good things or not? So then, if you are, you should be getting blessings. And if you're not, you should be getting cursed. So it never pushes to narcissism because it's on you. If your life sucks, it's literally your fault.
I think in the same way that you've described this, Magzan, I agree with everything you said. Hinduism, going back, for example, to the Diegos, Filipinos, like Buddhism, Hinduism, and all of these religions, coming from the East.
The Philippines is a larger Christian nation than it is.
They are more, yes, but it's a different type of way. But anyway, they are more reflective and more in sync. They are less about fighting for righteousness and more about flowing with the truth and embracing what comes their way, not fighting it, and I think that that acceptance of things the way they are is one of the things that maybe makes them less prone to create narcissistic behavior. Because one of the things about the narcissist behavior and the diagnosed narcissist behavior is the inability of really blending into what's happening to you, be accepting of it and just letting go. They feel like they need to.
But it also shows the culture, right? Like in the Philippines, you can't do drugs or they're gonna kill you, right? If you're a drug dealer, if you smoke weed, they're gonna kill you. So could it also have to do with that?
Law enforcement?
When
Yeah, I just think it's
Filipinos
a
do law
strict.
enforcement, they're the most vicious of all.
Yeah, so that's not empathy. If you think of empathy, you think of you don't think of that rigidity.
No, I truly think narcissism can't be bred into a Christian culture. I truly believe this. Nora, it's funny, Nora had a room yesterday and she was reading Matthew 25. This is what Christians do believe. It's like, whatever you did for one of the least, you've done for me, right? Whether it's feeding the poor, helping the needy, that is Jesus himself, and that's what when you've helped the needy, you've helped myself. So this is what's preached to Christians. This is why I do believe that Christian societies are usually the best.
Well, we have the tradition of tzedakah. Judaism is built on the three principles of
The singer?
chesed, loving kindness, learning, and tzedakah. And in all cases, I should point out, the enemy of narcissism is deference to a higher authority, which of course is God. And it is a way of saying, no, we're not run by the ego, which is narcissism. We submit to God. That's the opposite of narcissism inherently. And I know I'm getting a heart from Princessa because Islam is the same. Islam virtually means submission or deference to God.
Yeah,
Same
I
thing
don't
with
think
Judaism.
the tenets of Christianity led to narcissism. I mean, there definitely are narcissistic Christians, but that's not the point. If you read Christianity literally, the problem is the opposite. It leads to antinomianism. Now, most Christians will nuance that out, but the problem is not that they take so much pride in themselves. The problem is they take so little that they say that I'm forgiven no matter what I do, so I can sin. I mean, the problem is the opposite way, or the potential problem.
I mean, listen, the potential problems go all the ways. People can always make narcissism. The general rule is any culture which is promoting introspection and personal responsibility reduces the amount of narcissists. And if you limit those dangers of human personal responsibility, self-introspection, if you don't promote those and you discourage those, then yeah, you're going to produce narcissists of varying types.
So how much does Christianity promote inner works? I want to hear from Christians. Or how much does it promote just complete faith and trust that in a guiding hand Savior?
I mean that's one of the core principles of Christianity.
Wait, which one?
That we have a Savior. What are you trying to say?
What I'm trying to say
What are
is
you trying to ask?
What I'm trying to ask is how much does it promote introspection? Saying, I'll just pick Sunday morning. I'm going to church. How did I behave this past week? How did I treat my wife? How did I treat my children? How did I treat my coworkers? Blah blah blah.
It depends if you're Catholic or a non-denominational.
Catholics, Catholics without a doubt. Like I mean, that's what going to the priest and confession is.
Right? Catholics promote inner works, and the other ones are more like Jesus will take care of.
It just depends. It just depends on the denomination of
No, I don't think that Christianity, in any of its denominations, stimulates self-reflection. I mean, probably in Catholicism, a little bit through the Confession Act, because it makes you kind of think about your sins and you need to tell them, but it doesn't really necessarily provide a platform to challenge things, to become self-reflective. We're not made to really understand scripture. And then you have all the tap dancers, like Keegan with their Protestant denomination who think that they can understand the Bible on their own without the help and the guidance of the church. So I mean, they basically just get a version. They pick and choose what they want to believe from the Bible, and they believe that they understand God.
I think if you met and you talked to Methodists, Presbyterians, or Calvinists, or even Lutherans.
Yeah, but those guys take it seriously.
But I understand, but those are some of the largest denominations in Christianity.
I don't care about how large they are.
Everyone looks at
that doesn't make them right.
and they go non-denominational. Let's look at them. But I would agree that those type of Christians usually tend to not really be Christians whatsoever, right? They just like the aspect of a community.
Right.
They would join a cult if it was up.
Yeah, but Christianity has a better rep than your standard cult you pick up in the phone book.
Exactly. But yeah, so I mean, it just depends on the denomination. I think those are part of it.
Yeah, Protestantism, they're all tap dancers, dude. I mean, you believe in sola scriptura, you don't believe in the necessity of the church, so really you're disregarding the guidance of the church that Jesus left you, actually. He talked about the church all the time. He left us a church, not a book.
Yeah, he did. He did leave us a church.
Exactly. And you are deviated from that.
Uh-oh, Keegan.
The way that I've described it is when you leave a Catholic mass, people tend to have a somber feeling, as if something very weighty has just been experienced. When you leave a Protestant mass or whatever you call it, typically there's a feeling of joyfulness and energy because they just watched a show. There was a little bit of talking down to them at some point. But generally the show must go on, and there's uplifting music that people eventually leave and they feel good about.
Do the parishioners participate in Catholic Mass, or is it only the guy at the top?
Only selected parishioners participate.
Yeah, is it the leader who's leading the hymns, or do they say amen? Do they call and response?
What? Oh yeah,
yes,
we pray. We say amen and response. We pray together. But it's more like a dance. It's a coordinated.
Right.
Yeah,
that's correct. It is a performance. It is a regular performance.
A ritual.
We've all been trained in the parts necessary, and we participate, and we are observing at the same time. It's a play that we're all engaged in communally.
No, you said Diego as the fellow Catholics considered, and as I am the tap dancer here. When I do hear that, again, I understand. Peter was the rock two or more are gathered in his name, right? That the church is there, that spiritually.
No, he didn't say the church is there. He said
Yes,
my
if
spirit
two or
will be
three-
there.
Matthew
But he didn't say,
8:20.
oh, if two of you gather, that will be my church. He never said that. He said, when
Matthew-
two of you gather.
Whoa.
Okay, so maybe
I'm reading it. I'm reading it exactly.
Yeah, but okay, read the
So
exact
when
words.
2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, I am there in the midst of them.
Correct.
yeah, he's in a midst.
He's there.
Yes.
Nobody's denying he's there. He's there with us right now, but that doesn't mean we're a church.
Right.
Or that we don't need any guidance, in order to understand scripture, which is,
Yes.
again, he left us a church. He didn't leave us a book. He left us a church.
I do agree. And you know what the church, the Catholic Church uses to show that they have authority and responsibility? They say,
Buildings
they
of
like to say Matthew 16, which is that I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven, and whatever you bind on earth will bind in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth will be loosened in heaven. Right? This is where your own priest will say that this is where the authority has been given to the church. Right? Which again, I would say, if they could take that scripture and say, this is the responsibility and the authority that's been given to us, I would then say that when Jesus says when 2 or 3 are more gathered, I would say that that's a spiritual community, and that is the church itself. The church is a spiritual church. And this is why, again, when Jews did this, right? When Jews did this in the Old Testament, where they were bound to rituals and engagement, it was never enough, right? This was the whole point of why Jesus Christ came, right? Because it was never enough. That they were always going to be sinful, that all the amount of sacrifices that were done in his name, building the tabernacle, all these things were never going to be enough for Jesus Christ to fulfill all the laws, right? And then I think that Catholicism has decided to do what Judaism has done, which is create these rituals and practices that were never established in the New Testament, right? This was established by the church itself. And the church then became very ritualistic and became a prophet. This is where you see all the corruption in the Catholic Church. And so this is where I think that, again, this is where we differ. But there's a lot of Baptist Protestants, I do agree with that. But there's also a lot of Catholics who are non-believers whatsoever.
Oh, yeah.
Who touch a lot of children and are in your leadership.
Wait, let me ask you, Big Zed, is there a similarity between leading a Reform procession and Orthodox one? Somber versus happy? The rabbi and the...
in the Reformed Jewish communities, you'll find things that look more similar to like Protestant concerts, like Uri that you hear a bunch. I don't know what he's calling himself now, but he's a conservative rabbi, and he brings a guitar. He sings his stuff, intonations.
Yeah, I had a feeling that was the case.
Yeah, and some people even further, Israelis.
I had a feeling that was the case.
More welcoming and happy at a conservative shul with a bit more theatricality than an Orthodox base where it's 10 guys that just showed up because they show up every single day and they know all the stuff we're doing it every single day, whether you show up or not.
What's a Reconstructionist?
Reconstructionist is anarchists. They just want. They're like proudly declaring we're the pick and choose Jews.
So the like I mentioned before, I think you hadn't been in the room yet, but the narcissists in the show Seinfeld, what do they practice?
They're being New Yorkers.
So, but
No,
you don't think that's
even take the conceit of the show. There's so many different characters that filter in and around that show. But in Manhattan, that makes sense. People would interact with them. And what do you do when you interact with that many people? You judge them all for being a little bit different. That's just what Jerry and Larry David were doing constantly. And, good at it.
What about when Larry David gets to LA?
Then he realizes that
doesn't really fit in. It doesn't really fit in. If you notice that the entire premise of Curb is him not really fitting in because he's an individual narcissist. Like he just can't. He never manages to fit into the society properly.
And listen. The beauty of it is all of his little foibles. They're things that like bug him during the day. Out of a sense of politeness, he's not like doing all of these things. But when it comes to comedy, he can just rant about this thing that annoyed him, and everyone finds it funny, which is what he said originally. The only reason he got into comedy was he found out that when he went up stage and started talking, everyone thought it was hilarious.
Whereas Jerry Seinfeld's humor is more about why is that convention the way it is. Nobody explains it, but I noticed that it's
Jerry approaches each joke like a riddle, and he loves it, and he's great at it. He likes the puzzle of it. He loves to work too.
Yeah, he's crazy.
Why aren't you so funny? That's really interesting. How did you guys produce such funny?
Because, well, think about, in a certain essential way, the Jews of Europe that grew up alongside the Europeans were in a naturally cynical position. Like, there's been a lot of stupidity throughout Europe. Kings, bastard children, incest, wars, betrayals, and the Jews, by design, are just not a part of it. They'll get out. When you get close to it, we're probably going to kill you, right? So by now, like, they live in a state of fear and sardonic wit. They're just like, oh, look, Russia's apparently a thing again. Now they're not. Ooh, Poland is back, right? We're just laughing at all of this. To them, it's like important, pivotal movements in their history. But to us, it's just like another weird thing that's happening while we've been displaced.
Does that mean anything to you, Keegan? Do you get it?
And I'll say further. Humor comes from having a deeper perspective, having more concepts to unpack in like a single narrative. And the longer the scope of your cultural history, if you have maintained it, I think you can have a more cynical, more realistic, funnier perspective. I would say if you found some other like long-lived cultures, you'd probably find some pretty good humor there.
Yeah, but a lot of the humor is a critique. And to have a critique, you have to...
Exactly. You have to have a long, stable position that has responded to all of the shifts that have happened throughout time. That's how you have humor, because it's funny. Right? You can't... Why can't you joke about genderism? Because it's new. People don't know how to respond to it, and they know that the best way to critique it is with the old conservative positions. And that's where you find the humor, on the right side. On the right, the conservative base, you'll find them critiquing the new, but the liberals can't because they don't have an age-old perspective to be cynical with. They only have the modern perspective to be cynical with. So transgender is new, to be cynical about it.
But aren't these two shows that we're talking about, aren't they not critiques, but rather self-deprecation?
No,
Yeah, well,
they're
self-deprecating people that are just critiquing all the time.
No, they're critiques. I mean, I don't agree with everything Zed's saying, but they are critiques of societal norms. Both the shows are critiquing societal norms and questioning them. Seinfeld doing it in a more typical way of just like questioning norms, and Larry David is like, well, what if I just decided to be a complete narcissist and do my own thing and ignore society? How would that work out? But they are critiques of like social norms.
Like, I just throw an example, right? George picks up the half-eaten eclair from the trap. Is that self-deprecative humor, or is that?
I don't remember that scene, but he's questioning like we eat other things. Like, okay.
Come on! It didn't even touch the bottom of the trash. It's right there on top. It's floating.
But but it's also a question of societal norms. So my son went on a tour of like a lettuce plant, and he took a video, and one of the women there were like waving at them, kissing her hand, and like blowing kisses. And my first reaction was like, gross. She's she's wearing gloves, but she's kissing her gloves. But we eat lettuce, and we eat all types of things that probably are far more germy than something on the top of the garbage. So it's like it's self-deprecating in a certain way, but it's like it could be, why is this now a problem? You didn't watch it before it went into the grabber. It's like, so he's Yeah, so they're consistently critiquing. Now, you can't run a society that way because there has to be a time that because you'll be in a Descartesian rabbit hole forever. You have to have a side that say like because it is okay. Stop asking questions.
And that's what I'm saying. Larry
But as humor, it works.
Times that people stop and say that's just the way it is. We're rolling with it, and he goes with that, but he writes it down, and then he just makes a show.
Isn't that what like most stand-up is, right? Most stand-up is that type of like critiquing society norms and like finding a different angle on it that you never really think.
Well, that's observational humor. That's one kind.
Stand-up's a performance. It's a one-man show, which is why you can do dick and fart jokes and still be effective.
But
right?
you could do puns. You could do wordplay. I mean, I think observational humor is the best type of stand-up, but it's one genre of stand-up.
Yeah. Got prop comics, music comics. I guess the battery.
I love that Dave Chappelle abortion joke where he's like, if you get to kill it, then I get to abandon it.
That's a good joke. That's a good one.
It's very observational, very hypothetical.
Right to the heart. That's good.
It's very tight. There's no fat on that joke.
There's no fat on that joke. Well, Jerry's favorite joke, Jerry Seinfeld's favorite joke is there's no fat on that one either. You guys know that one, right?
I forget.
I guess the joke itself is that Keegan will not understand the joke. And the joke goes.
That joke.
You should say it all normal.
I have to have coffee first. It has to do with what Gentiles don't understand about life.
Two Gentiles walk down the street and run into each other. One says to the other, "How's business?" And the other one says, "Great."
Yeah, that's the whole joke.
Yeah, I actually don't get that joke.
That's part of the
That's because you're the butt of the joke. You're not going to get the joke.
Yeah.
You just get the joke.
The best observational jokes when you do cross-cultural is when both. It's not a great joke, but I'll give you an example. He says, "How do you spot someone from Canada in New York City?" So he's the guy waiting at the red light when no one's coming. The reason why that's a great joke is because every New Yorker looks at that guy. He's like, "Yeah, that's the idiot standing there," and every Canadian is like, "Yeah, I'm the guy that stands and waits because that's what you do." It's like both cultures thinks that you just complimented them, and it's hilarious.
So we haven't cracked down. So Isa says that he thinks Christians, Christians and Islam create the most narcissists. Is that where we're at right now?
So I'm not saying only that only Christians.
I think agnostic
create
is
narcissists,
the-
but I think that it
Ignorance
brings
that doesn't produce narcissists. Come on, guys.
what?
We're just going to exclude atheists from consideration as to whether or not they produce narcissists.
No, narcissists
Yeah,
create.
atheists
not at all.
and agnostics definitely.
But so here's the thing. I'm not talking even about. I'm not even talking. Oh my God! I'm not even talking about the religion itself. I'm talking about the cultural context. And in my opinion, culture is influenced 100% by religion. So even if you are an atheist, you will not be the same type of atheist if you are a Jew atheist or a Christian atheist
More of a
or an Islam atheist. It's a very different kind of atheist. So the culture of Islam and the culture of Christianity, in my opinion, brings more narcissism than the culture of Judaism.
If that's true, and I'm not telling you it's true, but if it is true, it's because of being saved. Meaning, if you could just be saved without inner works, then that would be an atheist when it becomes atheist of doing less self-introspection.
I'm skeptical and hesitant to say that the rates of narcissism are more. I don't know. I like the Jews. I think they're doing fine. But I think every culture.
Obviously, because you're a Jew.
Yeah, and also every culture has narcissists. And I don't know what the rates would look like.
Yeah, I'm not. That's the reason why I'm saying that I'm not giving a totalitarian argument. Of course, there are narcissists everywhere around the world,
Right.
and in any type of religion. So I'm just saying that I feel that they are bred more into these two other religions.
Well, we do study like the nature of sin and bad deeds.
What up,
like,
Carolina?
special
No.
words describing them that are
I don't know what you mean. Is this you? But I am
like
in a
Russian-
clubhouse room
But you made a good point
listening to
before,
narcissists talk about narcissism.
I mean, like, you guys also think that you hold the truth, right? I mean, like,
Yeah.
But I do believe that in yours religion, it's not that you give necessarily the space for potential other religions to be true, because you do believe that you own the truth and that you are right. Otherwise, you wouldn't be doing your.
I don't know if you
religion,
thought
right?
I was Elon Musk, but no, I'm not.
But
I'm
I also
Adrian
believe that
Dittman,
the type of
CEO of
discussions,
Tesla,
that you guys
SpaceX,
have
Boring
is
Company.
less dogmatic
Are you bored
and
yet?
more. I don't know if I'm right in saying that it's less dogmatic.
Well, also,
It could be, you're right. If I understand what you're trying to say, but Judaism.
Right, we've had to interact with these new philosophies as they develop in Africa and Arabia. We had to develop with all of those and interact with each other while different communities were developing with different insights. So, like, yeah, we have to be a bit more open because we've been opened. Our state was taken from us.
So
yeah, and I believe that just the nature, just one last sentence, Maya, the fact that you guys don't go trying to convert other people, that is one of the very strong factors on why you're letting others believe what they want.
Yeah, so I'm going to say it in a different way. Judaism definitely believes it is correct and solely correct. I mean, but it gives space for other people to be wrong, and that's okay. Meaning, based on the information you have, it's understandable where you would get to. So that's why you don't go and convert, because based on the message you receive, that's acceptable of where you are.
You're not trying to convince others exactly that they're
and not condemning others, which is a major difference. In Christianity, if you don't accept, I mean, Islam's a little more nuanced because they say if you didn't get the message, but once you got the message, but it's basically a game of name that God. In Judaism, it's a much more robust test. And that grace has to be given to other people to say, based on the information they have, then they're making the right decision.
Meyer, when you say correct and solely correct, and what? That Jesus was in the Messiah?
Right. Muhammad wasn't a prophet, yes.
Okay, but what specifically? Correcting in
two
what?
Those were very two specific examples. I mean, you want to go through all the tenets, the 13 attributes of what makes you. Like, I'm not sure
even that comes later in time. You don't have that earlier. You have that during.
Okay, I'll say it a little more clearly.
Do you realize?
Earlier, that's a mistake. You're wrong about that. But anyway, I'll say it a little more clearly. The point is, when people, if someone is not Jewish and they're not, even if they are Jewish and they're not practicing the religion, that's not a definite condemnation on them. Because if they grew up in a society that taught against it and learned.
Okay, Carolina, have a good day. Take care.
They are a good person, then it's not on me to judge, because it's a much more robust test based on you have to really know every part of the person, which is impossible for one human to know one another. But that doesn't mean to say that practicing a different religion is an acceptable form of practice. So that means that Judaism is saying, no, Judaism is the correct way, but God will judge you based on the information you have, and if you did what's quote unquote incorrect, that's okay in your place. You follow me?
Yeah. Can I add something?
You can try.
Please.
Our highly intelligent nation, they have their boundaries, religion, views in the relationship with God is out of the level. They create the communities, and control the financial system. But the ignorance that came from the history is immense. We all know when the Messiah saved the Jews, they turned back to the God, say, God is on our side. Now we
Oh my God, we're not talking about religion, dude. We're talking about narcissism, and it's a more philosophical conversation.
Don't take fights with the birds or the cats, 'cause I got much come at punching other people's stats. And if the whole world brings you down, then we'll throw it on the fire and take the car downtown. Will you stay in the lover story? If you stay, you won't be sorry. 'Cause we believe in
more people that exhibit grandiosity and other characteristics of narcissism. So wouldn't that be an argument in favor of Jewish culture generating narcissists? Since they're
well, I mean, if you claim that they're the only collective culture, then yes. But I mean, like Christianity, especially Islam, is highly collective.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
And in fact, is what I was saying before, that, and what Meyer was talking about when this weird guy came to interrupt, is like that your capability, and this I think the key, your capability of existing and adapting into a diverse environment is what gives you the ability of not being a narcissist. When you get into an environment that you consider hostile, just that consideration of hostility is already fitting into a narcissist's mind, because you believe that you need to correct them, you believe that you need to make them believe what you believe. And that's exactly what, for example, Islam does everywhere they go. They want to make everybody else force them into believing what they believe and force them to respect what they believe. And it's what kind of like Christianity kind of like does, although, well, with the Reformation, and making them secular and stuff, is less like that. But yeah, I don't know. The thing is that you just need to be able to adapt, like you can have your own beliefs. Your beliefs are yours. Nobody is telling you what to believe and what not. But you need to also recognize other people's right to believe whatever the hell they want to believe and not get offended or attacked or perceive it as hostility, when somebody else does not.
I mean, from a theological position, it seems to me of the three Abrahamic faiths, if you want to call them that, Judaism is the one that would breed the most narcissism.
But why?
I mean, if you look at narcissism, it says exaggerated feelings of self-importance. Not only is Meyer telling us it is the correct way, and the only way, the sole way, but doesn't care about others, it's like also exclusive for the chosen ones. We know the way. And then in relation about correctiveness, if you look at the Talmud and the things that they would address later on, like for example, in relation to Jesus and the things that they later said about Jesus, why are they talking about Jesus in the Talmud?
But I don't think that you're making any sense.
You're not making any sense.
I think what she said makes sense if you don't understand the chosen one, whatever.
Of course he believes he's right because that are his beliefs, but so you believe you're right too. I believe I'm right too. We all believe we're right. Now the difference is made in the sense that Jews are not forcing others to believe what they believe. They are on their own and they get along with the ones
but they do it narcissistically.
Yeah, like we kill people, right? If they don't become Jews, we just kill them.
No, I'm saying specifically, like for example,
Like Christianity, they're just so nice. They just kill you if you don't accept Jesus.
What are you laughing at, Abby?
Let her try to define her.
I'm being even more specific. For example, I've recently learned that in the Talmud, and if you want me to specifically cite it, that the rabbis would say that Jesus was stoned to death and then put on the cross post-death. That's in your Talmud, and this is something that
No, it doesn't say that.
It does, and I will cite it for
No,
you.
it doesn't say that. You can. It doesn't say that. Even if it did, let's just pretend it did, even though it doesn't. So
Okay.
that would mean
So
that
then
he got the punishment. He got the punishment of being stoned.
Hold on. So this is something that centuries later, your rabbis write about Jesus, about something that was historically known that he was crucified, right? But for whatever reason, the rabbis come in much later and want to make it about them.
Or record their own.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So
it's very narcissistic, and not only that, it's exaggerated, it's a lie.
Okay, so Francesca, basically, this is a stupid argument. Basically, what you're claiming is that Jews are more narcissistic, and then when asked why, when you see
That's just an example. It's just an example.
Francesca, listen.
The principle of why they're narcissists is the idea that you're chosen and it's exclusive and it's only to you.
But you
Like, that's
also,
why the narcissism.
No,
Oh my
you got it all
gosh.
wrong. You got it completely wrong, and you basically
Princess, understanding
you also think that you're exclusive. You also
No, I
think you're
don't.
exclusively.
No, I don't.
Okay, so you're telling me that the Jewish religion is just as acceptable in your culture as practicing Islam? So if I say,
Hello, everybody. How you doing?
What about jizya? Let's talk about that.
No, let's not talk about jizya. Let's talk about the religion. If I say I accept Allah as my God, but I do not accept Muhammad, that's okay?
You can do whatever you want. Like,
I'm
No,
not
it's not do whatever you want. You guys
You're such
are
a liar.
a conqueror.
How am I
religion.
lying?
in your own hands.
Because
So.
And you know what? Takia, right? I mean, like, isn't it about lying in favor of your religion? That's exactly what's happening here. But anyway,
Yes.
so the fact that, I mean, the chosen one argument is just so stupid because so you need to see everything in a historical context as well. So Jews are an old religion. They are living, let's say, their religion in the Old Testament. In the Old Testament, God refers, God, not the Jews. God calls them the chosen ones. That doesn't
There's no
mean
mention of
they are.
the Jews
They are.
in
That
the
doesn't mean
Torah.
they're my favorite.
Okay,
That doesn't
Francesca,
mean
if you
they're my
can't read,
favorite
just
ones.
read it. This is so boring.
It means they are the chosen people through which I am going to fulfill a prophecy. I am choosing them as my servants. They're the servants of God. I have chosen them to bring my prophecy to life.
The Jews of today are not the children of Jacob.
I don't care. But
It's about
the
the
Jews
book
of
and
today
the
are the
laws.
ones coming and stuck from the Old Testament. Now, Christians, we have the new covenant. The new covenant starts with Jesus. He is the new promise of God. In this context, the chosen ones already fulfilled a prophecy, and now the new covenant is the promise given. Hold on a second. The promise is given to everyone that chooses Him as their Messiah and as God.
Let's be more specific.
So that
Today,
is a different
Is
thing.
Meyer chosen? Is Meyer chosen today?
In his belief, in his religion, yes.
In
he
your
is.
belief.
Oh my God, Princessia, just listen. His belief is still in the Old Testament. For them, the Old Testament is still valid. The Messiah has not come. For us Christians, we have the capability to understand that was how the old prophecy came to be fulfilled. Now we have the new covenant. We believe in Jesus. It's not they were the chosen ones to bring a prophecy to life with Jesus through the Jews. Jesus was a Jew. If it had been for the Jews, we would have never been able to fulfill prophecy. Now we're living in a new era right now, where we have a new covenant, we have a new promise, and the chosen people are those who choose to believe in Jesus, believe in God, and believe in Jesus as God. Now, the Jews cannot believe this because they decided.
Narcissistically, they decided
Well,
to
it's
deny.
because of prophecy. No, guys. Isaiah prophesied that the Jews were going to deny Christ. So this was really the prophecy.
But isn't it narcissistic to just assume that another opinion is right or wrong?
Yeah.
Oh God, diving here. Sorry. So, the Jews are Jews that don't accept the New Testament, that don't accept Jesus. Yeah, they might be wrong, but under their framework of belief, they are doing the right thing. Just as we Christians, we 100% believe that Jesus is God, and we decided to take on the new covenant, and we decided to treat Him as Messiah. Are we 100% right? Well, we don't really know until the Messiah comes again in our.
Exactly. We're
So
both
you're not mad at
debating the number of times we're waiting.
it's like to call yourself a Christian and not realize how much disrespect those who call themselves Jews today and in the last hundreds of years.
It might be, but I'm not the one that's gonna judge them. It's God that's gonna judge them. I have my own beliefs, and I have no authority to impose my beliefs onto them.
to. She has
I know.
arguing for her.
Listen, it was an honest question. You don't have to wrap your head around other people's opinions. They could all just be trying to work against you. My question is, can you wrap your head around other people being honest and genuine good people and coming to different conclusions?
The fact that I guess you don't engage with me enough.
Yes.
That's why you're asking.
Oh.
This. It's so funny.
This is in reaction to
No, Mixed, I don't want to just get yes or no, but I demonstrate that. He said does not demonstrate that. I actually demonstrate that. But go on.
Fair to your own opinion that you demonstrate.
You must be loving this,
I
Abby.
demonstrate that in my conversations with people and listening to what they have to say and wanting to better understand their points.
Your own judgment or someone else
From others. I have others that can vouch for this.
Diego! I love you!
I agree with Issa that, listen, without Jews, we don't have Christianity, all these things. And I don't blame, I'm not like someone who's like, the Jews are just, they're just wrong. Like, no, as I've said, it was prophesied by Isaiah that there would be people who would deny the Messiah. Now, whether or not you believe Jesus Christ is Messiah, whatever have you, it's great. But that was prophesied. And so the Jews fulfilling prophecy is just how it's going to be always. So
But what does it mean to be a Messiah, though? What does that really mean?
Oh my
Oh my god, no.
What
Just
does it
down.
mean?
I'm sorry.
Can you please mom me?
Why? No, he's down.
why'd you guys kick him down?
I don't know, because he's deviating, he's taking us up to a place where we don't want to be taken.
Diego, I posted the Spotify link, by the way.
By the way,
I couldn't.
You posted the what?
The Spotify link that we're talking about maybe an hour ago.
The interview of...
I don't see it anywhere.
It's
Where-
in the
where is
side
it?
chat. I couldn't
Yeah,
find your
it's-
Telegram. I sent it to you directly.
I'm gonna
if you
send it
wanna
to
forward
Okay. Send it to me.
Nora, did you watch that YouTube video yesterday?
I started watching it. I'm going to watch it today. It's not very long. It's like 25 minutes.
Yeah, it's not long at all.
Did you guys see this thing with Deep Sync? This is like big news.
Yeah, nobody wants to explain this to me.
Did you see how much it cost them? It cost them $6 million.
Explain it to you on the most superficial level.
It's actually $5 million, but I could see why you chose.
Diego, I can explain it to you on the most superficial way.
But yeah, please. Other than it's free, please.
No, they basically have discovered a way of using a whole lot less physical resources to do the same amount of computing power. So think of it like what's it called in storage? Like when you consolidate. I forgot the term. Like when you're able to put much more information.
RAM.
You're able to
Compression.
Compression. Thank you. So they basically figured out a kind of compression for computation. So that makes all the ancillary companies that are around AI making the hardware unnecessary and threw the market to a tizzy. That's most superficial because that's basically all I'm up to. But I hope that helps.
Yeah, they've overcome financial and technological restraints that we thought currently existed.
Yeah, that's NVIDIA lost the most money that any company has ever lost in the 24-hour period. I think I put the pointer
Yeah.
there. But if you look at
I sent you Meyer's link to the interview, and Meyer, I sent you Diego's Telegram so you guys can be there.
If you look at the 5-year chart of NVIDIA, it's a fluctuation that is, not that dramatic compared to the 5-year moves of the stock. Okay. The biggest drops actually happened in bull markets. This has long been known. Yeah. Okay.
But it's still a huge hit on them, and whether or not I don't think they actually recover. I think that this is the arms race of our generation, right? AI is
Right.
It's crazy. This is crazy. It's crazy technology.
China just took a huge lead.
Well,
It ain't over, okay? China came behind and came up with something
Something like
terrible.
Over
Forget the
Oh my
financial.
god, Mike, you're one of the retard ones that keep thinking that
Wait.
China is following US innovation. They are driving innovation. You are the ones following innovation.
Well, forget
You guys forgot.
Because they improved the algorithm slightly that Americans invented.
No, it's not about the algorithm. It shows that you don't know what this is about.
It's about
The whole thing about the AI is that they came up with a better version, a faster one, requiring less use of chips, chip power, which means that all the microprocessors that are taking all of the energy to create AI, right now the Chinese have found a way of creating a better version of AI with way less consumption of power and energy. So
just so
their
you know,
invention it requires less of the resources that our AI does, and so that is revolutionary, and that's the reason why Nvidia came down in the market.
but just so you know, this
Because
is what
all of a
I
sudden
do
they have
all
completely lost
day, every day.
importance.
I'm an expert on this.
Yeah, well, you
I
don't
use
sound
this
like one. I'm
stuff,
sorry.
I build this stuff. This is what I do.
Well,
So-
someone that calls himself
Okay.
an expert, to be honest, is very dumb. But
So I know how DeepSeek version 3 fits in with the many other models that are coming out now. It is an impressive advance. Does it mean that the Chinese are conclusively ahead? No.
well, it's not
Does it mean
about only the functionality of it, but it's about the resource consumption, and that is the reason why Nvidia crashed.
Okay, so but people still need NVIDIA chips. They
Yes,
made
you do.
fewer of
They
them.
don't do much.
Bitcoiners need it.
Forget
Yeah,
the.
you do. They don't.
Forget the.
But
shit
also, I
on
mean, this is
financial
only a
stuff.
model of a certain scale.
Oh my God, Mike.
In order
Okay.
to build future scale models, they're still
Expert
going to need
AI
exponentially
expert.
more compute.
Shut up.
Okay, forget
My understanding.
Do you know the scaling laws? Explain scaling laws to us, please.
My understanding is that but I've had some meetings with some AI experts, and they said that like there's no such thing as an expert insofar as every 3 months there's an advance that
Even
changes
quicker.
how, like, sometimes it's prompt creation, sometimes it's RAG, sometimes it's this or that. There's like, it's just changing